Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Tuesday afternoon. I want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as seasoned. I got a word for you. Tap in. Happy Tuesday, guys. Currently driving, well, I'm sitting in traffic actually. So I decided to pull an email. I pulled an email from a young lady. She is over it, honey. She ain't got time, right? Okay. So God then called her, threw her up in the single season because she said she got a download a couple of years ago that God was calling her into a season of marriage. She had been married before, but had been divorced for like 3 years, went through a healing process, and started to have a lot of fun. So she was, out here dating and having a great time. So she wasn't even thinking about getting remarried. She said her first marriage was so toxic that she just was not going to do it again. And then she got the, hey, get right. And she kept trying to duck and dodge from it. The convictions were just too powerful, confirming from every direction. And so she decided to follow, of course, God's prompting, convictions, etc. And she decided to go into a single season voluntarily. Well, first thing, sis, all props to you, because some people do it voluntarily, not just a single season, but just a season of whatever, right? Some people do it voluntarily, and some people you gonna get thrown in there regardless if you like it or not, right? So good for you. You said you're very frustrated because you can't understand why God would tap you, and now it's 2 years, I think 2 years in, and you're getting bits and pieces of things. You feel like you're aligned, but you can't understand why there's so many moving parts within the single season. You're annoyed and you want to kind of just get back in these streets. All right, so you wanted my advice. I don't have your email pulled up. I'm sorry, I'm driving, but I'm going to try to remember some of the things you said. All right, first thing first, sis. I'm just laughing because I'm just remembering certain parts of your email. Okay, so if obviously you knew from what you stated that your first husband was someone who you picked on your own accord. God was nowhere in it, and it just didn't turn out well, etc. Well, great for you. Kudos to you, because again, a lot of people, once they've been hurt like that, or they came from a bad divorce or a bad marriage, it's almost like they're completely closed off to trying it a second time. So great for you that you realized that God wasn't in it, and that's why it wasn't a great marriage. Personally, I feel like when God brings things together, it's absolutely amazing. It doesn't mean it's perfect, but it's absolutely amazing because it's in alignment. You said you know who God have already shown you your purpose partner or your kingdom spouse, and you asked if I think that God will. I've said this before on another recording. I do believe God will show you, meaning the woman. God will show you. However, in my opinion, you are not to act on it, right? God may just be showing it to you for different reasons. For one, to keep you grounded. So when those delays do come up, you're not so fast to really run off and try to start mixing up in other things and get in entanglement with other things, mess around, get a soul tie, all that other nonsense. So God gives you a glimpse of it so you can know what you're working towards. So yes, I do believe God will show, or can show, a woman who her kingdom partner or kingdom spouse is. But again, my personal opinion, that's something that you don't tell anybody. That's just between you and God will do the manifestation of that situation. The reason why it could be taking so long, I can go on for days with this topic, seriously. The reason why it could be taking so long is because there's a lot. Just because God shows us something or shows us the promise or a person or whatever, it doesn't mean that we're ready for it. It doesn't mean that the thing is ready for us. Okay, you've been married before. So within your single season or your healing season after marriage, did you get all of the lessons? Not just God healed your broken heart, your wounded heart, but did you get all of the lessons that God needed you to get so he could be sure that you don't take it into the next marriage, etc., etc. So if that's a no, then God has to still work on you. God has to prepare you. See, you chose, as you stated, the first guy, right? So you don't even know what this other guy is about. You can assume that you can act the same way you did with your first husband, but most times when God sends somebody, that's a completely different type of person. It's just a different mindset, right? So God has to prepare you and teach you and instruct you how to be a proper wife for this particular man versus what you were taught maybe from your own parents, or again, the things that you just made happen in your first marriage. So God could still maybe be working on you. Okay, God can still be working on the other side. He may have a whole soul side. He may be in a whole relationship.
In half a mile, turn right onto Howell Ferry Road Northwest.
Let me turn this. Sorry guys, I forgot I had my GPS on. So he could still be working on the gentleman. This gentleman can have a whole soul tie. I mean, you don't know about, because he's not in your, you know who he is, but you really don't know anything about him like that from what you stated. So he can have a whole soul tie. He could be dealing with a whole witch, and he don't even realize it's a whole witch, right? So God got to sit there and really clean some things up on the other side. Anything that could be going on that other side that you yourself just don't know about. Also, there could be giants in your territory, giants in your land. That can be people, that can be things. Those are also just demonic forces that don't want anything that's from God, right? It's going to be a blessing to not just you, but to other people. So Satan's going to always challenge and fight you against anything or any person that's from God. So it's not like God has this blessing for you and you're just going to, here you go, and there's going to be no resistance. No. There's going to be resistance because the enemy don't want you to have them. This is another reason why God shows you the vision, because that's going to keep you, because you know what you're pressing towards versus you're just out here lost in the ocean somewhere. You know what you're pressing towards. So when these delays come up, right? When these attacks come up, you're going to get tired. You're going to get annoyed. You're going to want to walk away. You're going to want to try to go just, do something different on the other side. You're going to try to just start dating because you ain't got time for the nonsense, because you got choice, point blank, period. But God is going to shut it all down. God is going to shut it all down. You answered the call. So it's very typical to get annoyed and just feel like, listen. I ain't got time for this foolishness. I got choices. So why am I sitting here waiting in a delay, or this is going on and this going? I ain't got time for this nonsense. So that's your own fleshly mind saying that. That's you. That's all you. But when it's spiritual, this is really about God. It's not really about you, right? It's about God. It's something that God needs. God needs something from you and this person to come together. God needs something. So if you can plant your eyes on God, like, okay, I'm doing this for God. All this is going to be perks to use well, but I'm doing this for God. If you lock in on God, if you keep your eyes on God, that's what's going to really help you get through your process of the delays. Okay. Now, next question. Do you have room for this man? Do you have room for this man? Because your email says you don't, right? Room means, are you 100% available? I'm talking about no exes calling, right? No date nights with the exes, all that stuff. Because see, the delay and all that stuff, it can really get to the point where have you trying to go backwards. God hold you from these fools. God pulled you. Listen, here, okay, this is just how I live my life personally. I feel like if God wanted us to go backwards, he would have put our feet on backwards, right? We would be walking the other way. And granted, I'm sure there have been people who went back and maybe things really did work out for different reasons. So I'm sure that happens. But in my personal life, I ain't got time for that, right? I'm not going back to anything. I'm going forward. So the fact that you're still entertaining your exes and they're still calling, in your mind, as you stated, it's not even that serious. You're just passing time. You're just chatting. But that's not... Anytime you're waiting on a blessing from God, I don't care what it is. It's a blessing in general. The channel has to be clear. So picture yourself looking through a pipe, like one of those pipes, like this underground pipes or whatever that, the construction people use or whatever. If you're looking down one of those pipes, right? Your pipes you know what? Say it, not today. Your pipes have to be cleared. No pun intended. Y'all, I'm tired. I gotta go home. Your pipes have to be cleared. So you can't have, exes coming over or exes calling and you thinking it's all fun and I'm just trying to pass time. No, you have to have room. There can be no residue of absolutely no man of your past. Now it all depends on if you're a person who, and I'm not speaking about past men, I'm just speaking about just meeting men now, even while you're waiting, right? If you're a person who can date and keep it cute and not get emotions involved, like you're just going out to have fun, right? You're going out to have a cocktail. Yes, cocktail. Churchy, holy folks, right? You're going out to have a cocktail, but it's just really just having a great time. Then I don't think there's anything wrong with dating and hanging out while you wait. But then with a lot of women, every woman can't do that. I'm one of those women. Like, we can have a great time, honey, but ain't nothing happening, right? But some women can't separate the two. So they're sitting across the table from somebody having dinner or whatever. They're getting all googly eyes. Oh, I think I love him because he winked at me and all that foolishness. I ain't got time for the foolishness, right? But if you're one of those people where you can't really separate the two and your feelings start getting involved just because you're hanging out with somebody and then dating in general, that's just not going to work because it's going to be too much residue. So I'm at a toss-up with that. I always say yay and nay, but it really just depends on the person and how they can handle certain things. So make room, sis. You got to make room for this man. If the exes were so great, why aren't y'all together? If God wanted you and the exes to work out, I mean, why aren't you guys together? You know what I mean? I think for the most part, most of us, all of our exes went back in, but we listen, job please, right? Job please, ain't nothing happening. It's all love, but ain't nothing happening, right? We moving forward, period. But so there's so many things. God could be working on your self-esteem. God could be working on your confidence, right? If God, ask yourself and answer this question honestly to yourself. If God opens that door tomorrow, literally tomorrow, will you squander it? Will you be prepared for it? Honestly, will you be prepared for it in every way? Not just in every way. Would you be able to sustain it long term? Be honest with yourself. If the answer is no, well, I still got a few things I got to work on. I got to still work on this or work on that. Then that's your answer. So we be wanting God to open the door, but God knows we're not ready for certain things, right? God done told us to go to therapy 25 years ago. Still ain't in therapy, right? God done told you to hit the gym. We keep making our excuses. God done told you to change that number because the exes keep calling and you keep thinking like, well, I'll change it when the thing manifests. No, God is not going to, it don't work like that. God is not going to just randomly manifest something because you decided to do something one day. No, he needs to see how serious you are about it. You say as you want it. Yeah, I called you to it, but you answered the call. You could have rejected. You'd answered it. So now it's my way. Period. It's my way. So I'm going to give you certain convictions. And if I call you to be alone and you can't have date nights, or you can't meet other people, or you can't be talking to exes, and that's what I asked you to do. I don't want to hear about what this man over here doing. I'm asking you to do that. And it's like, hold up. Why I can't? He over here, he over here doing this thing. Let me do a little something. Nope. I'll work on him. Right now I'm working on you. So there are so many moving parts. But I always ask people, ask yourself, if the door opens, I just saw something, I'm sorry. If the door opens tomorrow, will you squander it? Will you be so insecure that every time this man walks out the door, you're blowing up his phone? Every time the man somewhere, there's a beautiful woman around, you're sitting here, oh, you're looking at her because all that foolishness. Ain't got time for that, right? Will you squander it? If I'm trying to think of some other questions, but will you squander it? So be patient, sis. If God said it, it is. But again, God don't always give us time frames, right? God have given me certain downloads about certain things, and some things manifested in weeks, some months, and some years. For the most part, my manifestations are fairly quick. There's a couple of them like, man, listen, right? But when I go back and I look at the process, I have to be honest enough to say that I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful that God made me wait on a lot of things, because I'm telling you, I would have messed a lot of things up. God is trying to give us blessings that's going to last until the Lord calls you home, right? In due season. These are not temporary blessings. These aren't marriages that's going to last for 2 and 3 years. These aren't ministries that's going to last for 2 and 3 years. Our business is going to fall apart. These are long-term things that we have to sustain. And so we have to have the tools in order to sustain whatever it is that God is calling us to. So, again, one of your other questions was, do I think it's okay for you to hang out? And again, that really, in my opinion, I don't know you like that. So again, if you're one of these women like myself who can just really go out, hang out with a guy or guys, dating is dating, right? And you're just truly having a great time, just laughing and over some whatever, and there's nothing like, or even if you see like the guy is kind of pushing up on you too hard, and you can really put that boundary there, then do you. Nothing wrong with that, do you. But again, if you're sitting there catching feelings, every man you meet, I think he's the one, I think I love him, and now y'all playing what's it called? Footsie? What's it called when you're like playing under the table and you're like kind of like footsie under the table? No. God's going to shut it down real quick. In fact, even if you think you're the person who can hang out and not catch feelings and just keep things real simple, even if you are that person, just try it. Just try it, because God has shut it down anyway. Because I always tell people, I'm a person who feels like it's better to try than not, because God will always shut it down. God will always pull you back. He'll always shut something down on sight if it's not for you. And so when you go, right, let's just say you meet a guy, and I don't know, you guys both drove there, and you'll be sitting there. You'll be sitting right there. That man never show up because God done let something happen up in the spiritual realm. Now this man, he ain't show up, and of course you don't talk to him after that because he played you, right? So it's like every time you meet somebody, it's just nothing's working out. And it's crazy because it's like, well, these look like great potentials just to be cordial with, but God will shut it down on sight because he already knows he needs you to have the pathway clear. He knows how soon it could be. And here you're sitting here, inviting certain people up in your life. Energies and spirits transfer. So you mess around and meet a dude who he ain't right, the spirit ain't right, and now you mess around, got all kind of craziness going on with you, and now your energy is all blocked. It's not pure any longer. Now God got to throw you back in isolation to get you back here. So it's just better to just kind of just chill, press in to God, pressing into your purpose, and just let God do what God do, because you're not going to move God's hands a day sooner or behind. So that's my advice, sis. Just keep it cute, boo. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.